In the heart of the African savannah, there once reigned a mighty king named Baraka. His kingdom, Makutani, was known far and wide for its prosperity. Gold flowed like rivers, and the lands were fertile beyond measure. But what set King Baraka apart was not just his wealth, it was the way he lived, a way that intrigued the people and neighboring rulers alike. Despite his vast riches, King Baraka lived modestly. He wore simple robes, ate the same foods as his people, and his palace, though grand, was never opulent. Yet, under his rule, Makutani thrived like no other kingdom. The people were content, crime was virtually non-existent, and even during the driest seasons, the kingdom never suffered from hunger. Other kings and queens marveled at Baraka's wisdom and often sent emissaries to learn the secrets of his success. But every time, the emissaries returned with nothing but vague answers, unable to grasp the true reason behind Makutani's prosperity. One day, a neighboring king named Mfalme Chuma grew particularly curious. Chuma was a ruler of a kingdom just as wealthy as Makutani, but his land was plagued with problems. His people were often discontent, crime rates were high, and despite the abundance of gold and resources, there was always a sense of scarcity and fear among his subjects. Chuma was determined to uncover Baraka's secret and use it to bring peace and prosperity to his own kingdom. Disguising himself as a simple traveler, Chuma set off for Makutani, determined to see for himself how Baraka ruled. After days of travel, he arrived at Makutani's gates, where he was welcomed warmly by the guards and citizens. To his surprise, the people of Makutani were open and friendly, offering him food and shelter without a second thought. This was the first thing that struck Chuma as odd. No one seemed to be afraid of losing what they had. Chuma wandered the kingdom, observing the way the people lived and worked. He noticed that they all seemed to share a common belief: there was always enough for everyone. Whether it was food, resources, or opportunities, the people of Makutani never hoarded what they had. Instead, they shared freely, confident that more would come. Intrigued, Chuma decided to seek an audience with King Baraka himself. Given his disguise, he was granted the audience easily, for Baraka made himself available to all his subjects, no matter their status. Chuma entered the throne room, where Baraka sat, not on a golden throne but on a simple wooden chair, surrounded by his advisors and citizens who had come to seek his wisdom. "Greetings, traveler," Baraka said with a warm smile. "What brings you to Makutani?" Chuma bowed respectfully. "I have heard of your great wisdom, Your Majesty, and I have come to learn the secret behind the prosperity of your kingdom. How is it that your land flourishes while others struggle, even when they have the same wealth?" Baraka's eyes twinkled with understanding. He had seen through Chuma's disguise the moment he entered the room, but chose not to reveal it. Instead, he decided to impart a lesson. "The secret, my friend, is not in the wealth itself, but in the mindset that governs it," Baraka began. "In Makutani, we believe that abundance is not about how much you have, but about how much you are willing to give. The more you give, the more you receive. This mindset of abundance is what keeps our people happy and our land prosperous." Chuma was puzzled. How can you giving away what you have lead to more? Would that not lead to loss and scarcity? Baraka smiled and gestured for Chuma to follow him. The king led him to the kingdom's granary, which was filled to the brim with grains. Baraka explained that during the harvest season, every farmer was encouraged to set aside a portion of their crops for those in need. In return, the earth seemed to reward them with even more bountiful harvests each year. "Here in Makutani, we understand that wealth is like a river," Baraka said. "If you try to dam it up, it stagnates and becomes useless. But if you let it flow, it nourishes everything in its path, and more water always comes. We trust that by helping others, the universe will provide for us in return." Chuma was still skeptical. He had been raised to believe that wealth needed to be guarded, that scarcity was a constant threat. But as he spent more time in Makutani, he began to see the truth in Baraka's words. The people were not just wealthy in material goods, they were wealthy in spirit, in community, and in peace of mind. One evening, as Chuma sat by a fire with some villagers, he shared his own kingdom struggles. The villagers listened sympathetically and offered him advice, sharing stories of how they had once faced similar challenges before adopting the mindset of abundance. They told him of times when droughts had threatened their crops, but by banding together and sharing what little they had all survived and eventually thrived. As the weeks passed, Chuma began to understand that Makutani's wealth was not just in gold or grain, but in the relationships between its people, their trust in one another, and their belief in a world of plenty. He realized that it was not enough to amass riches. One had to use them wisely to uplift others and create a cycle of generosity. Finally, Chuma decided to reveal his true identity to Baraka. He knelt before the king and confessed, "Your Majesty, I'm not a simple traveler. I am King Mfalme Chuma of the neighboring kingdom. I came here in search of your secret, and now I see that the true wealth of Makutani lies in the hearts of its people." Baraka smiled and helped Chuma to his feet. "It is good that you have seen the truth. Now take this wisdom back to your kingdom. Teach your people the mindset of abundance, and you will see the same prosperity flourish in your land." Chuma returned to his kingdom with a new vision. He began to implement the principles he had learned from Baraka, encouraging his people to share, to trust in abundance, and to support one another. At first, there was resistance, but gradually the people saw the benefits of this new way of thinking. The land became more fruitful, the people more content, and the kingdom more united than ever. In time, Chuma's kingdom grew to be as prosperous as Makutani, and the two lands became strong allies, bound not just by trade and wealth, but by a shared understanding of what true abundance meant. And so, the secret of the wealthy king was revealed to all, that the greatest wealth one can possess is not gold or land, but a heart that gives freely, knowing that in giving, it will receive even more.